Hello, thank you for watching Movies Cost Money. My name is SC King, and I just got back from the Nutcracker and the Four Realms. This is directed by. It's got two directors, which is odd to have two put in the movie. And this it's got two directors. Lasse Hallström. This movie has two directors. Lasse Hallström, the director behind What's Eating Gilbert Grape and Chocolat. He was initially hired to direct this film, and he did most of it. And then Disney asked for extensive reshoots, and they brought in Joe Johnston. Yeah, in a lot of ways, I'm curious how I would have felt about this movie if I hadn't known about the extensive reshoots. And the perception of this movie from critics has been pretty mid-level to negative. This is not a perfect movie. I think the movie is okay. But while I was watching it, and I try to watch this movie through the eyes of a child, I'm going to try to have my niece with me for more of these children's films because I think it's important to have that insight and to know how a child feels about these films. I think a lot of the reviews that I read are just looking at it through the eyes of just very cynical adults. And this movie is about the wonder of a child. I think that doesn't mean that I love all movies aimed towards kids or even all Disney films. I have a lot of negative things to say about Maleficent. I still do, always will, just with how the movie was told and what they did. It's the same thing for their recent Alice in Wonderland movie. I was not a big fan of that, and I was super excited for both of those films. I think this film nails a lot of the things done wrong with that film. It still doesn't completely stick the landing in a lot of ways, but I think they're getting better with this type of storytelling, this very, very visually driven is what I would call this movie. And this is a beautiful movie. It looks fantastic. It's breathtaking. The story is about Clara. This is a very young, kind of clock-minded girl. She's kind of an inventor. She knows how things work. She's got a younger brother, an older sister, and her father, and they recently lost their mother. She died. And this story is about a Christmas party that they go to. And the whole family is hurting in different ways, from her to her family and her father. She goes to this party. It's at her godfather's house. Her godfather's played by Morgan Freeman. And there's two mysteries in this movie. One of them is about an egg, a gift from her mother, when her mother left to her before she died, and she doesn't know how to open it. And then she goes to a Christmas party. She's given another gift from her godfather, and they both lead into this bigger mystery, into this magical world. The Four Realms. She finds herself in this other world. It's very Narnia, very Alice in Wonderland. She finds herself in one of the Four Realms, and she goes on this journey. Finds out that she is a princess. She meets the Sugar Plum Fairy, played by Keira Knightley. There's the dastardly Mother Ginger, played by Helen Mirren. The plot is that Mother Ginger is trying to destroy the other realms, and they need Clara. They need her help because her mother also looked after that world, and they looked to her as the princess who was going to save them all. So, in a lot of ways, the story is very basic. Where it's lacking is some of the motivations and rules of the worlds just don't really hold that much water. The plot is reasonably flimsy, and the script is only okay. But with all that being said, this is a very enchanting film. That doesn't excuse the storytelling faults, but there's a lot of good, I think, to be had here, and a lot of fun to have observing this adventure. I think Mackenzie Foy's Clara is a fun protagonist, and because she's a very, very good actress, she makes it work. She hits the funny notes, she hits the very emotional notes, and she's able to hold it all in balance. Jaden Foara Knight plays the Nutcracker in this film, and he's good, he's solid enough. He's not given that much, I guess, acting-wise to do as far as range goes, but he works as a good kind of foil to her. He's not overly comedic, and he's not overly serious. He's that balance in between. Keira Knightley is really fun as the Sugar Plum Fairy. I want to say much more about Helen Mirren, but she's also not given very much to do in this movie. One of the biggest faults of this movie is trying to tackle Four Realms. There's way too much. And so there's other characters, other colorful, other pretty looking, interesting looking characters in this film. But because there's so much going on, and they're bouncing from thing to thing to thing, you don't really get to explore them. And so it ends up being a lot of things that look very pretty but don't have very much depth. And so I can understand why some people are like, this movie doesn't have that much going on in it. I still disagree. I think there are a lot of things this movie is trying to say about family and obligations and loss and moving on. And those things work. You know, a lot of it is very standard, but it's enjoyable. I mean, I did enjoy myself in this film. I wasn't blown away, but I was also very afraid of being let down. I went in with low expectations. So yeah, this movie suffers from too much going on, but too little going on at the same time. If they would have condensed it all, maybe just focus on just two of the realms and had a stronger story, this could have been amazing. As it is, it's fun and very beautiful to look at, and it has some good music, some wonderful images, a couple of really cool characters, and a really neat cultural aspect that you don't see in that many children's films as far as the ballet goes. I don't think this is going to blow adults away, but I think kids are really going to like this film. I do want to say one thing. I see what Disney's doing with all these dying sick moms and all their live action reinterpretations. In Cinderella, you get to meet the mother for a little bit before she dies of some random sickness. In Maleficent, Aurora's mother dies off screen from some unknown sickness that comes out of nowhere. In Beauty and the Beast, they explore Belle's backstory, only to show that her mom died of like the plague. So you get to watch that happen. And in this movie, their mother died of, they show a backstory scene with their mother. You know that she just died, some random sickness. It's just, I don't know what Disney is trying to do by boosting all their heroines by having their mothers die from sickness X, but Disney, it's okay. Some of us have mothers, and it's possible to be a hero without a sad sickness death of your parent. That's just something that I noticed. So yeah, movies cost money, and the verdict is, I think for the kids, I think this one is worth your money. I would say it's a great, family holiday film to go see with your family. So, have you seen it? What did you think about it? What is your favorite version of the Nutcracker? Put that in the comments below. And thank you for watching Movies Cost Money.